It's time for Let's Talk Money.
Good afternoon, Chattanooga. This is Let's Talk Money with Jamie O'Donnell and Jim Place. 267-1023 is the number. Starting our market day, Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 58 points, sitting at 30,455. S&P down 21, sitting at 26, English, 36.97. It's always a lot to get out. Jim, how are you?
Excellent, as a matter of fact. Beautiful day out there, a little cool.
It's quite nice now. It's warmed up a little bit. No complaints on my end. Max, how about you?
I don't complain. I love it. I love this kind of weather.
It's about perfect. I can't disagree with that.
Yes.
All right, with us today, Angie Fielden with Solutions Pharmacy. Angie, how are you?
Fine, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you from around here, and how did you end up in the specialty pharmacy business?
Well, originally I'm from Murray, Kentucky, and migrated down to Chattanooga probably around 8th grade, traveled around a little bit in business. I'm working for Solutions Pharmacy. I've been there for 23 years. I'm married 20 years. We have 5 children and 8 grandchildren, so it's an exciting world for sure.
You're kind of like Max. You got a house full at Christmas time and whatnot.
Yes.
How did you end up? Let's back up a step here. What is Solutions Pharmacy? The general overview.
So Solutions Pharmacy is a compounding pharmacy. That means that we make all of our medications in our pharmacy. It's patient-specific, which means that a physician has to write a prescription to a patient. It goes to us, and then we compound that for the patient.
So this is completely different from the Walgreens, CVS's of the world.
Yes, those would be manufactured drugs. So they're all FDA-approved drugs. And CVS and Walgreens or any of those other pharmacies, they don't make things in-house in their pharmacy.
Did all pharmacies used to be compounding pharmacies? Is that how pharmaceuticals started?
It did. And then pharmaceutical manufacturing companies came on the scene probably I would say around the 1960s, maybe a little bit before.
As far as Solutions goes, have they always been a compounding pharmacy? Did they used to be a traditional pharmacy? Because when I was reading on the website, it looked like they got out of that business. And I wondered, we used to see a lot more independent pharmacies, and those have gone away over time. And I assume it has to do with the competition being the big boys like Walgreens and CVS.
Good question. You are so right. So, yes, we were traditional pharmacy. We did compounding in the very beginning, but we also sold regular manufactured drugs. In the industry, we figured, you know what, it's time to start compounding only. Let's be specialists. So I think it was probably around 2003 or 4 when we went compounding only. And the business just boomed from there.
Well, there you really end up, it's almost as if you need to become specialized simply for the idea and the fact that you can't necessarily compete with Walmart.
Exactly.
I mean, the price-bearing structure for a CVS or Walgreens or whoever it would be is just going to be enormous relative to the small independent pharmacies. The one I think of that you mentioned earlier to me that's now since closed their doors is Kingwood Pharmacy. A lot of people would be aware of Kingwood. Kingwood was a regular pharmacy that was also a compounding pharmacy.
Correct.
And how many people do what you do in this city or area now?
The city, I would say probably in the tri-state area, I would say there's probably around 10 of us, 10 or 11. You have all types of compounding pharmacies, and some specialize in a little bit of both compounding and traditional medications.
When we talk about compounding, why wouldn't I just go get the drug from whatever the drugstore is? Why would I need compounding?
That's a fantastic question. So a compounded prescription might be needed if there's a drug shortage or if a patient can't take a specific medication by mouth. Maybe they can't take a capsule, so we need to make a liquid, or maybe we need to make it in a transdermal cream. Let's say there is a person that has chronic pain and they can't function at work, they can't drive on a pain medication that's orally, So maybe they need something that is transdermal, something that's a cream that you rub on the area. So that's where compounding pharmacy would come involved.
I would also imagine it would come involved where I need 8 milligrams. I need 8 milligrams of something, and at CVS it comes in 5s and 10s.
Correct.
Where you're going to specially blend something to meet the particular needs of a individual.
Yes. So everything is specialized to each individual's needs. So not everybody is a one-size-fits-all. And in a manufacturing world, in Big Pharma, they are basically making certain strengths. So the doctors, they have specific things to choose from. But if they need something totally different, that's where they're going to look to a compounding pharmacy.
And I also assume there are just certain things that by their very nature have to be compounded.
Yes, absolutely.
I know I had a cream at one point for kind of minor skin cancers. He said that he wanted me, and I had to go to a compounding pharmacy and get XYZ.
Absolutely.
That it wasn't something that I could get at CVS, Walgreens, or wherever it would be.
Correct. That is correct.
Now, the other thing that you mentioned to me, and I thought this was interesting, there can be some pretty big differences in pricing in some of this stuff from the CVS's. If you think CVS and you think Walgreens, you think they're peddling shampoo, but when you go to that pharmacy desk, they're peddling stuff approved by the FDA by big pharmaceutical companies that are not shy about how they price.
That's true. So in defense of just regular prescriptions at a CVS, a lot of times patients have insurance and they just simply pay their copay. But we're seeing a lot more people either A, not have insurance, or they have extremely high copays or a deductible
or they have
to meet.
Me, myself, I'm a great example of this. Till I've spent the $6,000, $6,500, they're not paying for a penny of anything.
Exactly.
And this is outside of, I would think, your area or solutions area. You go to the regular pharmacy, you have the insurance, you have the low copay, great. If you're someone like me, GoodRx has been kind of a big deal. And I wondered how much you knew about that. I was actually talking with money because the savings can be pretty substantial sometimes. Do you know anything about GoodRx?
A little bit. I use it all the time. I've got the GoodRx app on my
I do too.
phone, and I check the prices. And if I can get it at a GoodRx, and let's say my pharmacy that I pick up the drug from doesn't honor it, I'll go to him and I'll say, well, I need to switch this prescription to a Walmart or wherever I might be going because I can get it at this price.
And I think most of us are going to understand traditional insurance. Even a lot of people out there have used GoodRx. How does it work at a compounding pharmacy? You figure out, I can't get this drug at my normal pharmacy. This is something special that needs to be compounded. Does insurance cover that?
So if a person needs a compounded prescription, they can try to get reimbursed by their insurance, but there are different copays. So there's tiers. There's a low tier for generic, then a brand would be the next tier up, and a non-formulary would be the next tier up. That's where we come in. We're a compounding pharmacy, so it's going to be the highest copay. So your copay in a percentage, it might be 10, 30, and then 50 for the non-formulary. That would be us. Most compounding pharmacies do not take insurance.
Okay.
So here's what you would do. You would ask for an insurance printout and then file that with your company. We'll fill it out completely for you, and then you just send that in to your insurance company, and you would be reimbursed all but your copay.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume compounded drugs are more expensive?
They're actually not. So
Really?
a compounded prescription is going to average somewhere between, I would say, $40 to $75, somewhere in there. Whereas there's a manufactured drug right now on the market for women that is around $300. If their insurance doesn't pay for it, we could make that same drug for somewhere between $50 to $75.
I would have not guessed that. That's very interesting. 267-1023 is the number. This Let's Talk Money. We'll be right back.
Let's Talk Money on Talk Radio 102.3.
We're back with Let's Talk Money. 267-1023 is the number. With us today, Angie FIELDEN with Solutions Pharmacy. Angie, we were talking about compounding. And I've already learned a lot. I was wrong about it being more expensive. Turns out it's likely more affordable. But I was curious, is this kind of a partnership between you guys, the pharmacy, the doctor, and the patient?
Absolutely. We call it a triad. So it's the pharmacist, physician, and the patient that's all going to work together to formulate a medication for that patient that's going to help them.
Okay. Is it normally the doctor that's telling the patient, hey, you need this specific thing? Or are there cases where people are coming to you looking for something and then educating the doctor?
So a little bit of both. My job as a marketing director is to go to the physician's offices and bring them a resource guide. It's a resource binder that has a lot of products that we make. Maybe there's over 200 products in there that we make. And so my job is to train them on, hey, these are options that you have for your patients, so that the doctor is already knowing something that they could offer to the patient. So that's the way we would love for it to happen. But a lot of times we'll find that patients will take their health into their own hands and they'll research and they'll see a product that helped someone else. And then they'll seek a compounding pharmacy and say, hey, I want to get on this. How do I approach my doctor about this? And then that's where we come in.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines. Hi, Jeff. How are you? Do we have Jeff? Jeff, you're on the air.
Yes, I was calling to see about prescriptions like Brio and Monte Lucas, which is an allergy pill. Do you guys do that?
We do not, to my knowledge. We might have something for allergies that you could take, but as far as those are manufactured drugs. So we could ask a pharmacist that. I'm actually not a pharmacist, but our phone number is 894-3223. You're more than welcome to ask a pharmacist that question, and they maybe can make a suggestion as to what you could be on for allergies.
Yeah, well, the Monte Lucas is the pill that I take for allergies. It's like an off-brand, I guess, for maybe Claritin. I'm not sure. But let's say the Brio, which is an asthma controller, do you guys do anything with that?
We do not. Not to my knowledge,
okay.
We do not, no.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Right.
We appreciate the call. So some are going to be a fit, some aren't. I'm guessing the asthma control medication is expensive. Name brand drug.
It definitely would be expensive.
Yes.
So that was a good call.
You know, what's interesting about what you're talking about here, though, is there are times where these lines cross. I mean, I could be going to CVS and I could be taking a manufactured drug for the purpose of X. Mm-hmm. I could very well be taking a compound that I wasn't familiar with for the purpose of X. I mean, in essence, you can have something that's compounded and you can have something that's manufactured that's sold in a regular drugstore. One may be more effective than the other, and one may be more or less expensive than the other. And what's ringing to me here is no different than when I'm talking to a client out there and saying, look, if you're going to make a decision about X, how you get yourself in trouble is not knowing all the parameters and all the information, having all the facts about X.
Exactly.
And so by dealing with someone like yourself or dealing within the framework of the compounding industry, is there potentially a better solution for my malady?
Yes. So our pharmacist, we have 6 qualified, highly knowledgeable pharmacists. And what they can do with patients is they can talk to our patients, about all the medications that they're on to see if there's anything that would be contraindicated, something that would interact with another drug. And they can actually say, okay, so I see your other medications that you're on. And if there was anything that they did not need to take together, they're going to be able to let them know that.
Are you saying that it might be to my advantage to have this conversation with your pharmacist?
Only if you're going to take a drug from us. If you're going to take a medication from us that we have compounded, then you would want to go to us. Otherwise, you would use your own pharmacist that you're buying all of your products from.
But my guess is my own pharmacist is not going to tell me about a compounded drug that could do X.
They probably are not.
No. So, I mean, if I wanted to say, look, I've got this problem.
Okay.
Can you what potential solutions do you have that I'm not presently aware of?
Absolutely. That's a good question. Absolutely go to our pharmacist and say, do you make anything that can help with this? The current medication that I'm on is leaving me with breakthrough pain or some unwanted side effect, and I need something to help me function better. Our pharmacist will know what suggestions to make, and then they can actually contact your physician for you or send something over, a request for that prescription, or they can hand you something to take to your physician.
I mean, I would think it feels very, and I mean this as an absolute compliment and in a good way, it feels like old school, high-level customer service.
It truly is. Our pharmacist and our staff, the one thing that I hear over and over when I'm out there talking to physicians, I hear, your staff is so friendly. They're knowledgeable. The pharmacists help us so much. Those are the things I hear.
All right, let's dig into some of the more specialized areas. And I'm going to start by saying this. Not a doctor, not a pharmacist, and I don't know hardly anything about what we're about to talk about. So I'm going to be learning too. Let's start with LDN. And first of all, tell us what that is. And you've recently completed you become a specialist in it. What was that process? How did you find out about this? Give us the overview.
So LDN is short for low-dose naltrexone. Naltrexone is a drug that was manufactured, and it was made for opioid addiction, alcoholism, and it's usually made in 50 milligrams and up, so they're higher strengths.
Okay.
What they found in 1984 is when that drug came available, but in 1987 they found that in use of lower doses, they saw that it was working as an immunomodulator. It also works on the inflammatory process, so it works on the inflammation in our body. What disease states start with inflammation? Almost all of them. Mm-hmm. So this can be a huge help to a lot of disease states.
It sounds like this has been around for a while. Is it growing quickly in popularity, and why didn't it grow sooner?
Exactly. That's a fantastic question. So in England, it is very well known. In fact, where I took my master course to become an LDN specialist was a company based out of England, and they're called LDNResearchTrust.org. So that particular website is founded by Linda Elsgood. And after taking a course, some pharmacists and myself, we took the courses, and she had asked me, she said, Angie, because of what you do, being able to talk to physicians, I think you would be great as an LDN specialist. Would you consider taking the master course, passing the test, and then becoming one? I said, I will try, but I'm not a pharmacist or a doctor, but I will try. So I tried, and I passed the course. It was 46 lectures, reading 2 extra books, and then taking a 100-question exam, and you had to pass with a 95 or better. So I took that, and I have just become so passionate about it. In America, it's not as well known. It's growing at a rapid pace now, though. We have grown almost 500% just this year in LDN business.
And that's just at Solutions Pharmacy
Correct.
Alone. Is part of the lack of previous growth in it in America due to the big pharma industry? Is this something they don't want, or is it just something that got missed in the U.S.?
That's another good question.
Not to be a conspiracy theorist, but.
Right. So I'm going to touch that with like a Q-tip. I'm not going to touch that very much. So big pharma, there's not a lot of money in naltrexone.
Okay.
So in low-dose naltrexone. So because it is an inexpensive drug, it wouldn't be something that they would choose to make. So compounding pharmacies began making it, and it's really not an expensive drug for us to sell. For instance, we have a 90-day supply that's only $55. That's $18 a month. So just about anybody would be able to afford that.
Give me a story. Give me an example of somebody this drug has helped.
Oh, wow. So my favorite, I'll call her AM. She was an RN for 20 years. She had fibromyalgia. She had quite a bit of pain. She had foggy brain and felt, I am not safe to work on patients anymore. So she took herself out of the medical field. Mm-hmm. She felt distraught. She had tried everything in a bottle to make her condition better, and nothing was helping. She was on the brink of giving up, period, on life itself. Her husband happened to hear that we were having a free public seminar on LDN, and he thought, I think this could help my wife. So she agreed to come. She came that night, and her life was forever changed. She has given testimonies for us. This girl, and actually I myself am a great testimony. I started taking it back when COVID was at its height, and I had attended a lecture on COVID and LDN and saw that it works on the inflammatory process. Well, COVID, it's creating an inflammatory cytokine storm. So what they taught in this lecture was that the LDN could calm down that storm before it really gets brewing. So I thought, okay, I'm going to put my family on LDN, and then a few other suggestions that a doctor had made. So I put us on that to this day, and I am in and out of doctors' offices, hospitals, and everything else, and I have still not contracted COVID that I know of. If I did get it, it never developed into anything in a dangerous setting.
What are the side effects?
So side effects of LDN would be, the most common is going to be vivid dreams, possible headaches when you very first start on it. You're going to titrate your dose up. So during that titration, you could experience some of those vivid dreams for a couple of days and maybe even a headache. Sometimes nauseous is reported by some patients.
Is the only reason this would be a compounded drug is that the big guys chose not to be involved in that industry simply because it wasn't profitable enough in general?
Yes,
Okay.
That would be correct.
So how does this product get compounded?
So we use it in mostly capsules, but you can use a rapid dissolve tablet, something that goes underneath the tongue. You can use it transdermally. Maybe someone has some type of arthritis pain and they want to rub it on as a cream. But most of ours is done by capsule. It's an extremely bitter drug. We did have a cancer patient that we had to do a liquid, and they put it through their feeding tube. So there's all kinds of ways we can compound it. It's very easy to compound. And it's a small little capsule that you would take and swallow.
What's the public seminars?
So the public seminar is going to be given by Dr. Stephen Wilson. He's one of our pharmacists that's our pharmacist in charge, actually. He attended all of the lectures. He's very knowledgeable and continues to study LDN and the disease states. He will actually be speaking at our open house soon. But the public seminar is open to the public. It's on the first Thursday of every month at 6 p.m., and it lasts till about 7 p.m. And so far, it doesn't really matter how many people we have, whether it's 3 or 4 people or 10 to 12 people. I would say 80% of people feel that it's for them, and they go ahead and continue with a consultation, and then we send the information over to their physician, and they've gotten started.
Because it seems like the people that would self-select, there's an issue. There's a known issue there if you're self-selecting to go to the seminar. You're wanting to learn more.
Absolutely.
Where's the pharmacy located?
5517 Little Debbie Parkway in Ottawa, Tennessee.
And what's the phone number again?
423-894-3223.
267-1023 is the number. This Let's Talk Money. We'll be right back.
Let's Talk Money. Talk Radio 102.3.
We're back with Let's Talk Money. 267-1023 is the number. With us today, Angie FIELDEN with Solutions Pharmacy. Angie talked about traditional compounding. We were talking about LDN. The LDN program, how does that work? So you hear this, hey, this might be good for me. I go to one of the seminars. I think this might be a fit. How does the because obviously these are prescribed drugs. How does the doctor get involved?
So what we first do is make an appointment for them to do a consult. The consult will be with Stephen Wilson, our pharmacist. I will help him with the paperwork that's going to be sent over to the physician. But Stephen will look over all of their medications they're currently on, their medical condition, to see if they are a fit. Mm-hmm. When he says, yes, that this will be good for them, then I'll put together the necessary information and we will fax that over to their physician. The information that is sent over It does have a LDN prescriber information form. It's 4 pages, and it tells them all about LDN disease states and how it works. Then they get a prescription form that is already filled out for them, is all the doctor has to do. If they have reviewed it for this patient and they say, yes, I think this will work for her or him, and they'll go ahead and sign it and fax it back to us. Then we call the patient and get them to come in.
You've almost got the equivalent role of a pharmaceutical representative, don't you?
I do. I'm kind of a pharmaceutical rep for my company. We just have 200 plus products that I push.
You do a lot more. I get it. Talk about the research trust and the founder of the trust that's coming to do a book signing from England to Solutions.
We are so excited. November 10th, Linda Elsgood is coming all the way from England. She is a phenomenal person to meet, and you will want to meet her. She is a 3-time author. Her books are the LDN book 1, 2, and she is launching her 3rd book at Solutions Pharmacy. We have just, we're just so excited to be able to have her. So if you guys want a great book that talks about different types of disease states, all 3 of the books are great. I've read the first 2, and I now have a copy of my number 3. I'm really excited about one of the topics is mold toxicity. A lot of people deal with that one. That's in the book number 3. LDNresearchtrust.org. You'll want to go to that website, check it out. That's Linda Elsgood. She's the founder of that, and like I said, the 3-time author. And she will be here on November 10th, signing books from 10 to 12, and then again from 2 to 4. And then we'll have an open house that night for physicians.
Let me ask you this. I want to make an assumption here. If I'm looking to come to a program that you're putting on, historically I would say I am doing that because whatever it is I am presently doing is not necessarily having the complete positive outcome that I would be looking for. Like if I'm taking 10 milligrams of X, blood pressure medicine, whatever it happens to be, my blood pressure goes down and I don't feel bad and it works great. Okay, I'm fine. But if I'm not getting the effect that I want or what I deemed I was going to get, or it's not moving in the direction that I would like for it to move, now I'm out there searching for alternatives. And the point I would make here, we're not talking voodoo here. This is how this industry was originally built.
Correct.
To some extent, it was co-opted by Big Pharma, who makes a lot of money. You look at their I have people out there talking about, oh, man, the profits these big oil companies made. I've heard President Biden talking about that lately. Average energy companies making about, their return on investment is 8 to 9% a year. In the pharmaceutical industry, it's 30 to 32 to 33% per year. You talk to people over 65, 70, 75 years of age, the most money they're spending isn't about surgery, it is about medicine. And it is about the cost of prescription drugs. So 1, is what I'm taking effective? And 2, why does it cost so much? And 3, what are my potential alternative solutions out there?
Yeah, and I'll play devil's advocate and defend Big Pharma over here. I appreciate their research. I appreciate their innovation. I think we do need R&D in medicine, obviously. But there's trade-offs that come with that, such as the cost of drugs that are out there. But I think the bigger takeaway is if you're paying for an expensive drug and it's not working. That's kind of the worst case scenario, where those are the people that really want to explore their options, or you've not found a drug that works. Those are the ones that ought to attend the seminar, ought to give you guys a call and talk to one of the pharmacists.
Well, I also wonder out there how many people don't feel really great and don't have a clue what's wrong.
That's another good point.
Just saying, okay, LDN, I have no idea. I can look down the list and I can see autoimmune, inflammatory-oriented, pain-oriented. There are a lot of different things that it might or might not have an impact for. But if I'm dealing with some aspect of these things, it doesn't appear to me that I've got a lot to lose to try something else.
Exactly. And with LDN, it is a broad spectrum drug that helps many, many different things. Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned autoimmune, anything that begins with inflammatory. anxiety, depression, psoriasis, Parkinson's, Graves' disease, Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is a huge one. We have a lot of Hashimoto's patients, and they're not being helped with what they're currently on. So I would say definitely look into LDN. There was so many, some types of GI issues. There's about 200 conditions that are listed on the LDNResearchTrust.org site. Go to that. You'll see studies with it. Call us. We'll help direct you in the right direction. But just like you were talking about the big industry, did you know that hormone replacement therapy is a $22 billion industry, and compounding pharmacies do quite a bit of that? So that's we're pulling a lot of money out of Big Pharma's pocket with us doing it. So they would love to have all of that back. But hormone replacement therapy is another one of our big. We probably do, I won't say an exact amount, but it's definitely over 50% of our business is hormone replacement therapy.
Let's come back to that. Right now, let's go to the phone lines. Hi, James. How are you?
Doing well. I have a question. I have muscles in my back that are just continually stressed to the point that I'm having massages once a week plus physical therapy 5 days a week, and it's not making a dent in it. But it's not a pain. It's just aggravation. It's like you get your thumb stuck in my ribs. Would this medicine do anything toward that?
I think it would, James. Our pharmacists have several options that they could discuss with you. I think LDN might be a possibility for you, but also we have pain creams and different types of stuff. So definitely give our pharmacy a call. Ask for Stephen. He'll be glad to talk to you. Phone number's 423-894-3223.
Thank you.
Thank you, James. We appreciate the call. 267-1023 is the number. This Let's Talk Money. We'll be right back.
Let's Talk Money. Talk Radio 102.3.
We're back with Let's Talk Money. 267-1023 is the number. With us today, Angie Fielden with Solutions Pharmacy. All right, the last one we haven't really touched on that's a big part of y'all's business, hormone replacement.
So hormone replacement therapy has been around for a long, long time. In 2001, a Women's Health Initiative study came out, and doctors and patients alike got a little bit nervous about it, and patients started pulling themselves off of traditional hormone replacement. Suzanne Summers' book came out at the same time, and we were in the back of her book, and we've been in the back of most of her books as the compounding pharmacy that makes bioidentical hormones. So we were extremely busy. About every 30 minutes, we were seeing patients or either on the phone or they were coming in, and we were the only ones on the East Coast that were mentioned in the back of her book. So it skyrocketed. Bioidentical hormones skyrocketed in our business. We do a lot of pellet therapy. Hormone replacement would be needed for such patients. Women could be anywhere from 35 to 55. They're going to go through what's called menopause. It could be a surgical menopause. Maybe they've removed their uterus or what have you, their uterus and ovaries, and they've been thrown into menopause abruptly. With men, it could be as early as, say, 35 or 40, and it could be as late as about 65. Andropause is what the male version is of menopause. This is where your hormones become deficient, and you need to be replacing them. This is where we come into play. We would check your levels, or the doctors would check your levels, and we would get for females, we would get an FSH, an estradiol, and testosterone and progesterone. We would see what those levels are. Whatever you were deficient in, we would replace those accordingly. We would send a recommendation to the provider, and the provider would then say, okay, this looks good. You might take hormones in the way of cream, transdermal cream, rubbing it on the arms or the inner thighs. You might take it by pellets, which would be underneath the skin in the upper hip area. You might take a rapid dissolve tablet underneath the tongue, or a moon troche. For men, they would become deficient in testosterone. Men need testosterone for the drive that makes them men. They need it for muscle support, bone support, cognitive function, sexual function, and women also need that same testosterone for those same exact reasons. So men, if you are checking your levels and your levels are less than 500 on a total testosterone, you may need help. So ask your doctor about it or come in and see us at Solutions Pharmacy.
And it sounds like you guys offer free hormone consultations
We do.
as well. What's bioidentical hormones? Can you explain that?
So bioidentical hormones comes from we use a yam plant that we extract the chemical from, and we in the pharmacy we make those. So it's natural to what your body produces, the same chemical structure as what your body produces. So it's just giving back to the body what the body already usually used to make.
So not a foreign substance. It's not. It's
Nope.
more natural.
It is going to be natural to what your body, the same chemical structure as what your body produces. It'll look the same.
Angie, once again, how do they get in touch with the folks at Solutions?
Okay, so call 423-894-3223.
Thank you, Angie. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Coming up next, The Ramsey Show, 1 to 3, 3 to 7 Sport Talk. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. That was good.